It's early morning on the Sunday of so much meaning and significance to so many of people. They awake from their homes, they run through the grass, down the paths, to where they know the man which would save their lives, the one that would give it all, just for them, to know that it would be on this day in which he would rise. They make it down to the cave. They find that the stone has gone. Only they find that the tomb is not empty, for the tomb instead, the tomb has been forgotten. Forgotten Tomb, under SATURN Retrograde, 2011 release. I review it on such a splendid and hallowed day to so many because the irony is just so significant that I couldn't pass up the opportunity. Not to mention this is something that was just released a few days prior. Under SATURN Retrograde is the first album in 4 years for Forgotten Tomb, ever since Negative Megalomania dropped back in 2007. And steadily throughout this band's career, people have started to really wane their love for this particular act because they claim that this band has become more of a Katacloneia clone as the albums have passed on by, or they've become Katacloneia, so to speak. However, myself as a personal fan of Forgotten Tomb and somebody who has followed them pretty religiously ever since, Songs to Leave or somewhere along those lines, I find this band to be fantastic. I find that the blend that they have between black and doom is just something that is to be marveled at. It's something that happens so much. It's not exactly a genre where they're breaking any new ground, potentially, and while I have an argument for a lot of you people that claim this is just a Katacloneia, what's wrong with that? Why not? What's the problem? Obviously, you guys love Katacloneia. Katatonia's early work is spellbinding material. Easily, some of their crowning achievements came during a time where they were a much different band than they are today, even though the material from today is equally majestic in its grandeur. What's the problem? I don't think that there really is one. However, those same people that claim this to be an issue will have more to complain about with Under SATURN Retrograde, and I will acknowledge that in this review. Under SATURN Retrograde is a 9-track affair that clocks in at just over 50 minutes long. And I'll be honest with you, whenever I first scoped out the track listing and kind of did a little bit of research prior to even getting this record, I was a little bit concerned. I was very concerned because, for one, I saw that there was no track here that eclipsed the 9-minute mark. There were no real lengthy, epic tracks like most Forgotten Tomb fans will be very accustomed to. There was also a cover of the Stooges' I Wanna Be Your Dog on this album as well, and it seems like such a night and day thing for Forgotten Tomb to go after a song to cover such as I Wanna Be Your Dog by the Stooges. It seems like stylistically it would be murder or suicide. It would seem like it would be career homicide. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. That is Forgotten Tomb for you. They're not afraid to take that leap. In fact, with Negative Megalomania, they're not afraid to even acknowledge the fact that their view on the black metal underground and all of the people that are really sensing and complaining about the styles or the undulations in which their music has taken throughout the course of their career, they really don't care what they say. Consider the lyrics from Negative Megalomania. Go back and read them. I'm not going to do that for you because that's your homework assignment. But Air Morbid and the guys, they are going to do what they are going to do, quite simply because they are a band that's all about the music that they make. They really don't care to attune or to really fit into some sort of genre. They're going to do this because they want to do it. And Under SATURN Retrograde is surprisingly something that took me completely aback. Because the moment that I started playing this, for one, I did understand you guys. I understood the Katacloneia. I understood the Katacloneia effect. Because right whenever you launch into the very first track, it's apparent to you. It does sound it. It's almost as though they took a look at all of these comments that were made and they said to it, you know what? Let's give these assholes exactly what they fucking want. And that's what they did. But that's the thing. That's not all. I see subtle hints of other things in here. The Stooges cover, by the way, oh my gosh, blew me away. I was worried about this song in particular. I thought that this was going to be an album that was going to get a nice flow going, because it's right in the middle. It's track number 4. And then all of a sudden, the Stooges cover would be such a radical shift in the sound, and the radical shift in the flow of the record, that it was just going to completely throw it off. And the remainder of the album was just going to seem like almost a recovery period of what the fuck was that? But no. They were able to do it within the Forgotten Tomb style, within the Forgotten Tomb stable. They were able to shred the fuck out of the ending of it. Not to mention, they just really... They transformed this song into what it would be if it was originally made as a Forgotten Tomb track. They adopted it into their own. It was almost as though it was an orphan. I Want to Be Your Dog was an orphan that was just scattered across time. And Forgotten Tomb adopted this song and made it into their own. And the representation and the job that they did on this particular track is to be commended. It is not to be talked down. I hear hints of other bands in this particular album as well. I hear hints of Crowbar in track number 2, in the outro. And then Joyless, track number 5, my gosh. There's that little instrumental section near the ending of the track that for some strange reason, the very first thing that comes into my mind, and I do not know why, I don't know why, someone explain this to me, is Depeche Mode. And I love it. I love it. I'm haunted by it. It's something that is seeped into my soul and it will not stop its grip. I have to listen to it over and over again, and I've been doing that ever since I received this record. And it's just one of those moments that stick out so well. Not like a sore thumb, but almost like an aha. The 2-part under Saturn Retrograde dual track, very phenomenally done. Something that starts off very short, and then it delves into that instrumental middle part that actually starts the second, the Under Saturn Retrograde Part 2, and then explodes into a finale. Can't Kill What's Already Dead. Track number 8, another fantastic track. A little bit more in tune to their old style. So it's not all gone, guys. Wow, I mean, where to start? Well, there's no place to start because I just basically covered most of what I was going to talk about. This is an album that actually has given me an even brighter opinion on Forgotten Tomb. For those of you who are actually letting this sort of decay your opinion, for those of you who are listening to this and thinking to yourself, man, this is really, they've kind of gone mainstream, this direction's a bad one. Well, consider this. Growth and maturity is always a fantastic thing in music. It's one thing that keeps something fresh, not to mention it also keeps the general idea of a band going. If you don't explore fresh new ground, if you don't tread and blaze those new trails, eventually the band loses interest to you. If Megadeth would have put out, for example, Rust in Peace each and every time, eventually that idea would have become old. If Forgotten Tomb would have put out Songs to Leave or Springtime Depression each and every time, that would have gotten old. This is something completely new. This is something that does have subtle hints of their old style, their old philosophy, the old way in which they participate and create music. But they add in these new little elements, almost like they're making, as I like to always say, a diabolical witch's brew. And this one, instead of going with the traditional formula, they're trying something different. Yeah, I've ragged on albums such as Saint Anger for being different. But I'm not going to rag on Under Saturn Retrograde for being different. In fact, I'm going to praise it. This is an album that's infectious. It's almost like I'm turning slowly into a zombie. And I'm loving every minute of it. If this is what zombification in that process is, sign me up. Someone bite the fuck out of me because I want it. This is a fantastic album, and I've not been excited like this over a record so far this year. I have not had this much excitement after listening to something. That's what really stands out to me. The fact that after listening to this affair, I had the excitement and desire to listen to it again. And after listening to it again the second time, I wanted to go back and go back. I had to break myself away from this album to make this review. Maybe over time, that honeymoon period will end, but the power of this album will stay with me, and I understand that. And for those of you that may not share that same experience, I also understand that. But consider the words that I spoke. Consider the fact that this is a drawing on of multiple inspirations, which is highlighted by the fact that they covered the Stooges, and is highlighted by the fact that other bands that you wouldn't traditionally associate with Forgotten Tomb kind of make little subtle entrances into the music. This is a fantastic release. Cannot recommend this to you enough. If you have this in your store, if you're that fortunate, I implore you to pick it up. If not, I implore you to order it. coverkillernation sang, "This tomb is better left forgotten. But this album will be remembered."